Hello guys, Web Novel Reviews here, and today we're looking at Becoming the Dark Lord by Mark Evenhart. This one is available to read on Royal Road. I just finished this one, which is why the video took so long to make, as it is rather long. This web novel is a bit harder for me to pin down a rating on, and I'll get to why in a bit, but I'm going to go with 4 stars with a small asterisk that I'll explain in a bit. Before we get into why, as always, I'm going to give you a brief summary of the story. Our main character for this one is named Luke. Luke is a person whose mother went missing over a decade ago when she accepted an invitation into the tutorial. She wanted to get a class in order to be able to better provide for Luke, but never ends up returning. Because of this, when Luke turns 18, he accepts the system's invitation in order to hopefully find out what had happened to his mother. As a main character, Luke obviously does not get a normal tutorial. So, it starts with him being sent to the wrong location through an error in the system. This means he has to fight tooth and nail before he can finally reach the actual tutorial itself. Elf. So, this story thus far has been about him reaching the tutorial, and when he gets there, trying to find his way back to Earth. I'm going to break this review into 2 parts. The first part will be the first, say, 70 to 100 chapters, and then the rest. This first part, I had a lot of problems with the writing. It was kind of cringy, and the author did something style-wise that I really just could not forgive. In the middle of their fights, they wrote in the sound effects during them. Like when someone got punched, there'll be like a bam. And it just really messed with the flow of the fight scenes. It made them a lot harder to read. Not to mention, it was also extremely confusing because of how just out there it is. Is the first few times this happened, I honestly had no idea what it was. I reread the paragraphs probably 5 times before I just gave up and moved on. It took me a while before I was finally like, oh, these are sound effects. And then when we're talking about the cringe, in the early chapters, a lot of Luke's power-ups are from epiphanies rather than leveling up and things, which isn't really a problem on its own. The problem is that the way they're written is just really kind of cringy. With the references to becoming a predator, and big cats and things, it's just how it's written. I don't really know what else to say. It's just really cringy. Which is why I think these first like 100 chapters are only really worth 3.5 stars. The main reasons I continued to read it anyways, even after this, and this was probably like a book worth of content, because I did think both the characters and the plot were interesting. That is the main reason I read web novels. Those the writing is just kind of secondary. So I kept going, and I'm honestly really glad that I did. So the rest of the novel, well, I thought was a lot better. At some point, the author starts to fade out the sound effects, which makes all the fights just smoother, easier to read, re smoother, easier to read, and just a lot more enjoyable overall. Oh, there's also the fact that the cringiness is dialed way down, I think. I'm honestly not certain. That could just be me getting used to it. The story itself I found really riveting, and the characters are just really fun and interesting, making it a good read because they get a nice dynamic going. The plot points also feel very natural progressions, ends where the challenges don't feel like they're just there to force character growth. Also, they all seem to make sense and align with the story plot. Because of that, I think the author did a really good job with the rest of the story going forward, and I want to give this part 4.5 stars. Even though this is more of the story, I'm going to just average the two together because the first part is a lot, and it's probably the most important part of a novel, if we're being honest, because if you can't get through you're not going to read the rest, which is why I think overall this story was 4 stars. Well, I don't expect it to happen because it would take a lot of work. I think if the author rewrote the beginning part with everything they've clearly learned while writing this story, right? Overall, it would just be great. So if you can feel you can get over my criticisms with the beginning or just able to read through it, I suggest giving this one a read as it was quite fun. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please like and subscribe and I'll be back with another review when I can.